we can tell that it's slower when the male starts catching up and getting ahead of us. Quite a few questions this week. A lot of them kind of the standard things, but some things like what Ann sent, she said, what do I do with this boxwood? It's got several leaders at the top. Should I prune it down to just one? Yes, you can. It's a green velvet boxwood, and they do have a naturally pyramidal habit. And you can see that habit expressing itself here, and that the top is growing faster than the sides and the sides are but anyway, you can see this line. So on its own, it doesn't want to be a sheared puppy. Come on, let me break. On its own, it doesn't want to have a tight shape, it's just a loosely pyramidal shape. So yeah, if you want to keep that for any period of time, like years, in a pyramidal shape, it's a good idea to, each time you prune it, to cut all of these side leaders back and make sure that you're not ending up developing a big woody cluster right here. Because then every time you cut it back, it will be barer and barer, and there'll be more and more little tiny sprouts sticking out in all directions. So I thin it down to 1 liter, cut. So this leader is going to be gone unless you want it to be taller. This leader is going to be gone, and these guys you're going to take all the way back to where they came from and then slice down the sides. Anne mentioned in her email that this is 3 to 4 feet tall. It's a green velvet, it's supposed to be 3 to 4 feet tall. And that's an if on the boxwood. This is boxwood green velvet, which is a hybrid between what they used to call the Korean boxwood, and now it's a Chinese boxwood. It's a hybrid between the Korean boxwood for its hardiness and the Buxus sempervirens, the evergreen, truly evergreen boxwood, for its good evergreen color in the wintertime. And the Korean / Chinese boxwood is usually small, usually 4 feet or so, but the sempervirens is often 12 feet, 15 feet tall. And I've seen these guys get taller than 3 to 4 feet. So you might want to keep take it with a grain of salt on some of these things and what they tell us how big they're going to be. And I forgot who. No, I'm going to remember this name here. I am going to remember her name. All I can remember is the last name, and that's no good. Not Gail. She would like to make this Rosa Sharon. It would work better in her garden as a tree form. You might be able to see a green stake there, thinking that could have one trunk and then a head up here. So it becomes it takes up airspace but leaves space around its feet for things. And the idea was ask Janet to come out and coach her on doing this, but we're not doing that anymore. And right now we've got our hands kind of full with promises we made to sisters, sons, friends of mothers. So we're not going out right now, but this one is simple to do. It takes, what do you call it? Chutzpah? Take chutzpah to do this. You have to take all of the branches out except one. And that's nothing. You've done that before, because these are all brand new branches. So you've cut it all the way down to the ground before. The thing is that you have to have the determination to keep up with it, where you're going to cut it all the way down except for one cane in the center. You're going to leave one cane. And then every time that it grows more canes from the sprouts that are left behind, you have to go and take those out right away. You have to just keep at it. Probably every 2 weeks, go by and you'll find it sprouted again, and you'll take them off. And you also have to keep the trunk clear of side branches up to where you want the trunk's top to start. And that's going to take training for a year, or probably a little more than 2 or 3 years here, because this plant has been growing a lot of suckers at the bottom already. But it's doable. It's just a matter of
patience and time.
Patience, yeah. Who's more determined, the plant or the gardener? Sometimes starting with a new one is easier. I was wondering about Diane's. Are you here this morning, Diane? She's forcing dogwood. This is one of those times of year when we're all anxious for spring. And it's a great time of year to bring a branch in. Not so big as this, a branch as big as this.
One of those.
Yeah, this is a lot of wood to ask a small diameter cut on the branch to bring up enough water to. But if I put just this one into water and kept it warm, and then well, first you keep it house type cool. So you're going to keep it at 60 degrees, not 80 degrees, for a few days, and then move it out into the sun. And you can often force them out. We've forced dogwood before, and we're not real pleased with it. It didn't develop much of its color, and it was a little bit small, probably because it wasn't getting as much.
It was also one of the hybrids too.
Yeah.
We're not sure how big that flower was supposed to be.
But you can force forsythia, dogwood. I've seen people force lilac, but it takes a long time. Flowering almond, kerria. It's fun to do. That way you can have spring unfolding on your kitchen table.
I think I'm just worn out. I'm not sure I have a cold.
Otto would tend to do that.
And what type of poodle mix is Otto? Who you are watching?
Otto is a Saint Bernadoodle, a Saint Bernard poodle.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Not advised. If anyone's listening, not advised.
No.
Sonia has a dog sitting for a week, so she has her 2 dogs, and also Otto, who is full of energy, and full of some other kinds of things too. So we're looking for if
There's
there's
a hand up, I know.
You saw a hand up?
You can see
Nancy,
right there.
Nancy has a hand.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
When I tried to force my quince in the house, and it's a reddish orange bloom color.
I love the color of quince. There's no other color like that.
Yeah, I love it too. It's not in a great spot, but it's doing well. So it's good enough for me. But when I tried to force it in the house, all the blooms were white.
White, right. There are a number of plants that do that. We talked quite a while ago. We really ought to see if we can get a hold of Andrea again at University of Michigan's Botanical Gardens, Mathi Botanical Gardens at greenhouse. She was their grower. And sorry, Adrian. And she was telling us about forcing things for the flower show. The flower show's in March, and you got to have all these things looking like spring already. And clematis, delphinium, but not so much the delphiniums, clematis, daylilies, and quince, the rose family, needed just the right temperature for just the right period of time in order to develop their color. And when she told us that, we realized that there are years when we see even out in the garden,
The quince is a slightly different color.
right? And sometimes the first daylilies to open can have a washed out color, or the clematis.
Yeah.
So it's probably just the fact that you weren't able to control the temperature just so. I don't know which it would be. Probably it needs to be cooler, but it might also have to do with the nutrient flow at the time. So if we try it again next year, put a little drop of fertilizer
Maybe.
in the water and see
Or
if
the
that makes
water
a
needs to
difference.
be warmer or colder, or
Yeah.
who knows?
I know that when the grower at Bordine's, one of our big nurseries here, when he retired, Bob Tyson was the grower, and he was an incredible grower. He kept a huge log of when he started at what temperature and what he did with it. And the new grower was just attached to that book because it represented years and years and years of trying a little bit.
And
of this,
that's
a little bit
something
of
you
that.
don't want to lose.
Right.
I mean, because a lot of these growers that are starting to retire, they kept it here, not on paper.
Yeah.
And that could be an issue for some of these younger people trying to come in and work. Hopefully we could get a lot of younger people involved in the plant industry and in gardening.
Is it tomorrow? No, next Sunday we're going over to our young friend's house. Mackenzie was one of our intergenerational kids. Our kids left home, and before there were any grandkids to mess around with,
You mess around.
we had the neighborhood kids.
That's not a good
That's
word.
not a good thing to say.
No.
We had the neighborhood kids that like to hang out in our yard, and she was one of the neighborhood kids and ended up working with us a bit. She now has a house, and we'll go over there. We like spending our time with the younger gardeners, the younger homeowners, to see what they're into. And I have to say that not very many of them are into wheelbarrowing all day long
No.
with us anymore.
No.
I think we were fortunate to have help we did.
when we did, yeah.
Lemon Daddy hydrangea. My, oh, you know what? I think that's the hydrangea with the gold leaves. Is that it? Have you? Yeah, Lemon Daddy hydrangea. It's a great name. I love these names. They get me going. For what for I must have this plant just because the name is a cool name. Yeah,
We have a list already.
Yeah.
We had another one.
yeah. We always have a list and we keep adding things to it.
Hmm.
And I have to say there are people that are better at naming them that way than others. Tony Avon down at Plant Delights. When he came up with the Outhouse Classic Hosta, it was Outhouse something Hosta. I went, why would somebody? But I'll tell you, they sell when they have a
Yeah.
name like that, and you can remember that name too. I this is the first time I've looked at this picture and saw, how about that red spotted purple? There it is. I can see the red spots on this one. Yeah, I can't remember what they host on. One of the trees. But it's another beautiful butterfly to have that I didn't even realize for a long time that I was seeing. I would see the blue and black and just assume it
The
was a black
flash.
swallowtail.
Yep.
And then you realize, no, there's no tail on this
And
one.
they're a little bit smaller
And
too.
it's a silly name when you say red spotted purple, because it looks like a red spotted blue to me, but then you can argue about the color,
This is
purple,
purple.
right? Yeah. That looks
This-
black to me.
No, there's purple right there.
Yeah.
Well, of course, there's only 8 colors anyway, or whatever.
What are we sharing here in chat?
I was asked for a picture of Otto. Stacy's asked for a picture of Otto.
Oh,
and I
okay,
can't,
good. I thought, wait,
yeah,
why
and
is
I can't attach a photo because it's Zoom doesn't let chat attachments, but I think these links for a Google Drive will let you view Otto and then Otto next to my lab for size comparison. But no static photo gives you a sense of energy insanity comparison.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, and believe me, her youngest dog can be
yeah, she's
pretty active.
She's total energy, and when somebody outruns her, I noticed that Jean is saying that her bird buddy's getting a lot of action and she might become a birder. Steve and I were just talking this week about how we think that most gardeners end up being
Birders.
bird people. You being out there in the garden and listening to them and watching what they do is, and the fact that they're wildlife, they are of the natural world, but generally they don't eat, trample, break, and twist up our plants the way that squirrels do and rabbits do and deer do and everybody else does.
But you do understand, once you feed a bird, you're gonna feed some squirrels too.
Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. Nancy's with me. She says it looks like blue to her too.
Yeah, I know. Everybody sees color different than me.
And there's our that was our indoor praying mantis.
She lasted quite a
It
while and
It lasted a while and
put an egg nest that we didn't even know was there.
it really was a very interesting experience having her on.
Yeah.
And she proved the point that if you let things into the house, it's not like they're going to set up shop in your house. They're going to set up shop in your plants.
Yeah.
Because plants is where they belong. We could usually find her in the rosemary.
And occasionally in the jade.
And Jean says she's learning bird and plant names. Yeah, we have quite a collection of bird books. I think it's one of the first things we started doing together was watching birds. Hawks especially. We keep saying we're going to find out. We're going to find ways to make sure we know what hawk that is. We can tell a red tail. We're pretty sure we know the sharp-shinned and the Coopers. But there's broadwing, there's rough-legged, there's now harrier. There's a bunch of others, and it's fun to see. Steve was saying that he watched the red tail that hangs out about a mile up the road here over a big open area. He watched it swoop down real low, just above the level of the canopy that covers the pumps at a gas station, and there was an explosion of pigeons as it
just went ooh, ooh. And they went every direction. And the hawk just kept. I'm not worried about you guys.
Well, I saw that same thing in one of the Life on Earth Attenborough natural series things where they were showing sharks hunting and how the fish in the school. I always thought, oh, how stupid to be in a school where everybody can get hurt at the same time. But when the shark would come to attack, it'd be just like the hawk. Everything explodes in all directions. And you don't even know who to chase, probably.
Anyway, Bird Buddy just came out with a hummingbird one now.
Hummingbird feeder, just. Now, we
Yeah.
were counting feeders yesterday. Our grandson was over.
Oh.
Steve was off doing something, I think picking up one of the other grandkids. And I was talking with Axel, who told me that, well, Grandpa sure has a lot of bird feeders. What's that feeder out there? So we counted, and I got to 12 and thought, I think that's all there out there. But then, did I count the hummingbird feeders? You got an
They're
awful
not
lot.
out yet.
You've got an awful lot of feeders.
I've got 1, 2. Not 12.
What about the one on the front window?
Oh,
See, you missed that one. I mean,
Yep.
it's just you keep looking. Yeah, we get a little carried away with this. A little carried away.
Yeah.
Um,
anyway, what time?
a free webinar.
On Bird Buddy.
Margie's gonna cut that kerria all the way to the ground. Yes, it'll come back with long single stems. Kerria with its green twigs on it and yellow flowers. And it does bloom on new wood, so you'll get bloom. It will bloom later than it would otherwise. if
Which
you cut
may
it all
be
the way
good.
back. Yeah, but you can cut it all the way back to the
Especially this year,
ground. It's
'cause I
all
think-
brand new green twigs.
We might get a lot of early bloom.
Well, I'm hoping not for the early bloom. The silver maples are blooming now.
The
And-
reds too.
And they're on time. They're usually March bloomers. I haven't seen the buds really getting out of hand on anything else.
No.
Spirea is getting ready, but Spirea is early to come.
So hopefully.
But that makes sense to me that we would be worried about them because it has happened that they've gotten frosted back. The magnolias haven't popped yet, so that's kind of nice. Let's go ahead and move on here.